Welcome along to King Power Stadium for Matchday Live, here for another 3 o'clock Saturday kickoff. Chelsea are in town and it's another massive Premier League game for Brendan Rodgers and his Foxes. Let's get all of today's team news with our commentator, John Dunn.
Two changes for the Foxes following that defeat on the South Coast, with Harvey Barnes and Tete both moving to the bench, replaced by Daniel Amartey, and a first Premier League start since Boxing Day for Patson Daka. Those changes tell you a change in formation as well for Brendan Rodgers. 3 central defenders selected. Danny Ward in goal, and the 3 defenders, Daniel Amartey, Harry Souttar and Wout Faes, with Timothy Castagna and Ricardo acting as wing-backs. The midfield is Keenan Dewsbury Hall, Papi Mendy and James Maddison, with Daka joining Kelechi Iheanacho up front. The Leicester subs, and there's a positive sign with Johnny Evans included amongst the subs, alongside Daniel Everson, Luke Thomas, Buba Samare, Tete, Dennis Pratt, Wilfred and Didi, Jamie Vardy and Harvey Barnes. Chelsea were in midweek Champions League action. They beat Dortmund 2-0. 2 changes for them as well. Reece James and Raheem Sterling miss out due to injury, were replaced by Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Mikhailo Mudryk. 2 former Leicester players in the 11, Wesley Fofana and Ben Chilwell. Ariza Balaga is the goalkeeper. Fofana alongside Koulibaly and Cucurella as the 3 central defenders. Loftus-Cheek, Fernandes, Kovacic and Chilwell across midfield, with Mudryk, Havertz and João Felix up front. On the bench, Bettinelli, McKennie, Pulisic, Chalobah, Zakaria, Ziyech, Gallagher, Chukwuemeka and Madueke.
Thank you very much, John. You'll be alongside Jerry Taggart on co-commentary for us for the kickoff at 3 o'clock, of course. We've got an hour to build up before then with Matt Elliott and David Nugent. Good afternoon to the both of you. You were on your jollies last week, weren't you? David stepped in and he's got the gig again for the second week in a row, which is worrying you slightly, isn't it, Matt, moving forward?
Is it? I don't know. Maybe it should. No, it's always a pleasure to be next to Nuge, but younger brigade, shall we say. Scully up the average age, didn't he, a little bit doing the commentary, but yeah, all together, all for one and one for all and all that. But that's how it's going to have to be out on the pitch today as well.
Yeah, hoping for a better result today, and good afternoon, of course, to you as well.
Good afternoon to you, mate. Yeah, results-wise, we need one. Chelsea coming off 2 really good games. One in the league against Leeds, and then obviously Champions League midweek as well. So they'll be up for it, but it's up for Leicester to get the fans behind them from the start and try and get off to a positive start.
Yeah, we've got plenty to get through here on Matchday Live. We'll hear the thoughts of these two, of course, on the change in formation. We'll hear from both managers, and we'll also take a half an eye back on what happened at Southampton a week ago and some of those missed chances and what was overall a really disappointing evening. We'll hear from Harry Souttar, who hit the crossbar with pretty much the last kick of the game, or the last head of the game, on Saturday. And we're going to look back at some classic goals as well, scored against Chelsea. Still no Matt Elliott goal to talk of in our montage this afternoon, which is always pleasing. Right, the headline
I'm perplexed,
team news.
by the way. Every week, pretty much every team, I've scored a goal. Whatever.
The headline team.
If there's one of Nuge on there, then I won't be happy.
No, not against Chelsea, mate. I could have had one against Southampton, but they didn't put one on there.
Yeah, headline team news is the change in formation. What do you make of it? Is that something that surprises you, or once it's been made, do you think it makes sense?
I think it does make sense. Although there's always pros and cons, isn't there? I mean, one being that you've got, 2 of your, certainly when they're on form, more dangerous attacking players out of the equation. In this case, Tete and Barnes in particular. So I think that's why Brendan Rodgers is always hesitant to make that switch. But he's done so previously, varying degrees of success. More often than not, it has a positive effect, doesn't it? Certainly in the short term. And all things considered, I can see why he's gone for that, Brendan Rodgers, today. It was being mooted, isn't it? Mooted in the press this week from different quarters that Leicester might be well advised to make that change, and seemingly Brendan Rodgers has done that. And yeah, I can see the reasoning behind it. Like I say, pros and cons, but it's worth a go, isn't it? Because what they're trying at the moment against this Chelsea team, who've had a bit of a resurgence, you think they might just come up short. So a different plan might pay off well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What do you make of it?
I don't mind it. You know, get the extra striker up there as well.
Yeah.
You know, instead of just the one collection up on his own, he's got pattern to work with now. So I've seen in previous games, you know, where they've played 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. When Brendan does change to a 5 at the back and put an extra striker on, the game changes a lot for Leicester in favour of them. So I remember the Fulham game when they were getting beat. You know, they changed it to 5 at the back and should have got something out of the game. So they've been unlucky with it, but I think it's a better formation. I think it suits the players. You know, Maddison's got that free ball in the 10 again, and he's got 2 strikers to look for now rather than one.
Yeah.
And, go on.
Well, I was just going to say on the back of it, I'm thinking Leicester employed the back 3, didn't they, early on this season? I remember against Arsenal. But that was a different stage of the season. We know how the start of the campaign went. But it was literally a back 3 away at Arsenal. And they were getting stretched and torn apart at times. So it's got to be a back 3 stroke back 5. I think, unfortunately, you know, I've said it before, it's a little bit of getting back to basics, taking stock, giving yourself a platform. You don't want your 3 centre halves spread across the width of the pitch like they were at times earlier in the season. You've got to be sort of humble enough, and Leicester are, without a doubt, you know, to concede maybe at times and think, right, back 5, you know, dropping into, well, you've got the 2 up front anyway, but sometimes even one of the centre forwards might have to drop in and filter out wide and do a little bit of a job at times.
Yeah, going forward though, goals haven't really been an issue for Leicester up until, of course, last week away at Southampton. But we can take a look back at some of the best goals scored in Leicester colours in the month of February, and then you can vote for your favourite on lcfc.com.
And Iheanacho sets up Maddison, and Maddison equalises. Well, the swagger with Boubacar Kamara in the way that he took the ball under pressure was admirable, but all of a sudden he found himself dispossessed, and Kelechi Iheanacho found James Maddison, and Maddison had the composure to find the finish. Christensen, it's away by Mings. Oh, it must be Iheanacho. It's 2-2. You knew they weren't out of this game, Leicester. The only question, was he offside? Iheanacho celebrating. It's been a ground that has been a good one for him. He scored his first professional hat-trick here for Manchester City. No foul. Tielemans. Tete's onside, and it's 3-2 Leicester. What a turnaround. That's what he's all about, Tete. Scored 6 goals on loan for Lyon this season from Shakhtar Donetsk. And he has opened his Leicester City account here. Away from Cash to thread it through, and it does indeed reach Pratt, and Pratt makes it 4-2 for Leicester, and maybe now the game is the visitors. He'd not been on the field long, Dennis Pratt. There's a big smile on the face of the manager that brought him on.
With him, but he sent it in low. A flick on at the near post from Castagna. It's almost off the line from Benzinger. And then a shot comes in from Mendy, who produces his first ever Leicester City goal. And my word, that was worth waiting for. Right-footed, cornered the penalty area. He's caught it as sweet as you like, and he's got it to the top of the goal. And Leicester City have got an equaliser from the most unlikeliest of sources, Papi Mendy. And now Iheanacho, Leicester may be in, Maddison, it's in, and Leicester have got a second. This time the man who can't stop scoring, James Maddison, 7 in his last 11 Premier League games. Iheanacho, the architect, as it came through the middle, and you can't leave Maddison unmarked inside the penalty area. Right footed, rolls it in. chasing. Again, he's one-on-one with Dyer, edge of the box, right side. Maddison to his left, Tete to his right. Onto his left, but it's in! It's Iheanacho! 5 starts this season, he's scored in all 5 of them. This one into the penalty area, onto his left foot, toying with Eric Dyer, and then finding the bottom left corner. And from Leicester, hoping they would go in at the break 2-1 up, they're going to go into the break 3-1 up. Into space to wow pass. Dewsbury Hall coming to claim it from him. Then on to Maddison. Leicester quickly coming forward. Barnes on the edge of the box. It's opened up for Harvey Barnes, and that one will surely count from Barnes. The trademark celebration over in the far corner. Leicester passing the ball quickly and incisively, and then when it came to Barnes on the edge of the box, he was providing the space to pick out the bottom right corner. That will be his 8th goal of the season.
Rolls it. This is one off the training ground. It seems that it's gone in. Expertly dispatched by Hannah Kane. Well worked corner off the training ground from Leicester City, and they open the scoring 7.5 minutes in.
Well, let's have a chance to move forward here with Brunt, who's picked a nice pass, and this is Briggs on PL2 debut, and he's found the corner. A brilliant breakaway by Leicester City. Inch perfect pass from Lewis Brunt.
I think it's fairly obvious which is the best of those, isn't it? There's some good goals, particularly in that Spurs game, but it has to be Papi Mendy, surely.
Yeah, it's got to be Mendy's. You know, his first goal for the club as well. You know, comes to the edge of the box, right foot, took a nice little bobble before he hit it. You know, caught a sweep off the laces and, you know, straight into the roof of the net, top corner. So I did mind Maddison's one as well against Villa, where he composed, where the defenders come in and Slade just composed himself to take it past him and slot it in like that. Any other player just lashes at that, but Maddison's got the coolness to do it. But again, Papi Mendy's got to win it surely.
And the context of that goal as well, and maybe we'll see something similar today. If Chelsea take the lead, then Spurs took the lead there, and Mendy came out with that, and it just completely changed the game, didn't it?
Yeah, that's one of the magical things about football, isn't it? You just don't quite know what's going to occur next. I mean, listen, Tottenham had just beaten Man City, hadn't they, the week before? Gone 1-0 up. They looked like they were in control early on. Leicester looked a little bit nervous, a little bit tentative. Then all of a sudden, Papi Mendy produces that out of nowhere. Where did that come from? He still doesn't know the answer now. But it did, and off the back of that, Leicester produced their best performance. So, yeah, you're right to mention that. That will give them heart, that sort of moment, or that sort of performance and scoreline up against, you know, a team who are not dissimilar in terms of quality. In comparison to Tottenham, you know, perhaps we've got that edge, Chelsea, but not on current form. It's a winnable game, isn't it? It's a winnable game, but not one you go into expecting to win. But Leicester have got to be strong mentally.
There's a few parallels in terms of Chelsea coming, and as there were to Spurs coming. That Spurs, as Matt rightly said, probably result of the season, beating Man City. Chelsea, you could argue their result of the season was against Dortmund in midweek. So hopefully we see a repeat of what happened there, and Leicester coming out on top.
Yeah, hopefully. You know, I think Leicester do play better against the better teams. I know Chelsea aren't doing the best in the Premier League, but they've had 2 positive results to come into this game. So for me, you know, both play free at the back. It's just about Luke and get the ball forward first. But this Chelsea team, you don't know who's going to play, do you? He makes so many changes each week, so that could hamper them a little bit. You know, he's made 4 or 5 today, I think, from the game in the Champions League. So that could work on Leicester's favour, and hopefully it does, and we can get a positive performance, you know, and try and get a result which will take us up the lead and away from that relegation zone.
Yeah, but when we were speaking about the team and the formation, the first thing you said in the other room was he's matching Chelsea up, isn't he? And as much as it's good to get those 2 forwards on the pitch, that's clearly played a massive part in Brendan's thinking. Yeah,
well, I think Chelsea are going with the 5-2-3, aren't they? But I think Leicester playing with 2 out-and-out strikers, so that could work for them as well. You know, 3 centre-halves against 2 strikers. could work out for us. And I think it's more positive. I do like the two strikers. I think you can link up better, with the freedom as a triangle, and hopefully it'll work out today and we can create a few chances and and get off to a good start and get the fans behind them.
Yeah, it'll be the first game in a back three in Leicester colours for Australian defender Harry Souttar, who sat down with LCFC TV this week to preview the game with Chelsea.
Well, Harry, it's been a tough few games, but has this week been a chance to almost hit the reset button for you and the rest of the squad?
Yeah, I think obviously the last couple of results have been disappointing, but I think there's been some really positive signs in them results as well. Obviously, the results are the only thing that matter, but I think the performances in a few of the games have been good. We created a lot of chances, and I'm sure another day they go in, so it's just about kind of finding the positives in them games, even though the results weren't what we wanted. And yeah, like you said, try to take it into Saturday.
I guess it's been easy to find motivation in training as well this week, having the real frustrations of the last few games behind you.
Yeah, I think you've got to use them in a good way, obviously, to put it right the weekend. Like I said, some of the chances that we had at the weekend gone there, another game they all go in and it's happy days, but yeah, like you said, you've got to use that to fuel you for the games going ahead, and hopefully we can do that.
It's Chelsea up next at home on Saturday. They've also had a bit of a tough period of late, but then won the last Premier League game and won in midweek to progress in the Champions League. So what sort of test are you expecting from them?
Yeah, listen, it's going to be a really difficult game. Obviously, they've won the last couple, had a really good result midweek in the Champions League, played really well. So it's going to be another tough test, but I think the main focus has got to be on ourselves and how we play and how we approach the game. Obviously, we've got a couple of days of training left before the game, so I'm sure we'll work on a few things. And yeah, like I said, take that into Saturday and see where we go.
Obviously up against a really top team, but Leicester's record actually against Chelsea in recent years is pretty good, especially at home. And do you feel like the supporters will play a part in helping that to continue on Saturday?
Yeah, well, like you said, hopefully we can continue that. We're on a good form against them. Obviously, we know it's going to be not just us, but obviously with the supporters backing us as well will be a massive help. So, but ultimately, I think that the supporters can only back good performances on the pitch. So we've got to give them something to cheer about, which is the main thing.
From a personal point of view as well, when you came to the Premier League, when you came to Leicester in January, these are sort of games that you really wanted to play in, playing the likes of Chelsea at home in the Premier League? Yeah,
I mean, obviously so far I've not been here long, but we've played some big teams and we've had some good results, we've had some bad results, so it's kind of been a mixture of everything really. But yeah, listen, it's another big game, but there's 3 points up for grabs, and that's what we're going to try and get.
We spoke to Wout Faes recently and he talked about your influence on the team and the defence in particular since you've arrived. How would you sort of describe your relationship on the pitch with him so far?
Yeah, he's a really good player. He's really comfortable on the ball. I feel confident giving it to him because he doesn't give it away. So and he's a leader as well for being young as well. He's a talker and yeah, he's very mobile. So it's good to play beside him. And I know it's the way the manager wants to play.
And do you feel like the more games you have next to him and the more games and training sessions that you have within that chemistry will really start to grow between you two? Yeah,
between us two and I think between the rest of the team as well. Obviously I've only had 5 games and a number of training sessions, so the more we play together, the more we train together, the more we're going to learn off each other and hopefully get better.
That was Harry Souttar there speaking ahead of this game with Chelsea. How much of a difference is it playing in a back 4 and a back 3, or well, back 2 really? Yeah. It's 2 central defenders as opposed to 3.
Yeah, it's sizable. It's different mentality, different jobs to do really, and different reading of the game as well, or decisions to be made, should I say? But I think personally it will suit all 3 of the boys who are at the back today. It just gives you that. I suppose it's obvious to you. It gives you that extra numbers there, extra security. But some players it doesn't suit. They get a little bit confused by it, and you can. They do, don't they?
Did it suit you?
I'd like to think yes. Put it this way: I was happier in a 3 than a 4.
Less running, probably.
Yeah. Apart from when I played under Peter Taylor, Well, to be fair, it was all right for me. It was the two other boys. They were literally man markers, so we ordinarily played against two strikers, and I was the libero, shall we say. So I was free in the middle of the three, and I just had to stay there. He didn't want me, because normally, as a three, you're playing a line. Like it's not, you can't have someone dropping deep, because it gives areas for centre forwards to run into behind the centre halves, and you're not going to be offside because I'm deep. But if you're playing a line, it's just pass them along, pretty much. You know, it's not overly complicated. But that was different. That was man to man. They were Frank Sinclair was running with his man right past me, about 40 yards, chasing it into the channel. I was like, "Come on, Frank, good luck." I was, you know, I didn't have a bead of sweat on me. 90 minutes, but. Anyway, I
enough about
digress.
You, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just think in different instances. But I think today, like I say, I can see the reasons why, and it's quite a change to what Leicester have been doing, because they've been trying to sort of almost force that high line on occasions. On occasions, there's a time and a place for it. I'm not sure Leicester always picked that right time. But now with a back three, it's more difficult to do that. You're there to be secure and solid first and foremost, and you know, and then give the others the platform to break forward, the wing backs, etc. But again, it's pros and cons, isn't it? Like, you know, Leicester with this system, they get to play two up top, three in midfield. Maddison will, in theory, get a lot of space. I don't think that will necessarily be the case, but then Chelsea have got to adapt a little bit when Leicester have got the ball. But I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense. And who will be in the middle? Probably Souttar in the middle. Would you say of the three?
Probably.
I think that's Souttar. He can play a bit as well, and don't really mention that, but he can pick a pass as well. You know, dominate and also communicate from that position, and run the defensive line, which I think is a part of his game.
Have you been impressed with Harry Souttar since he's come into the club?
Yeah, he's done really well. You know, it's hard coming to a new club, trying to find a central partnership. You know, trying to build that chemistry with them. You know, it's been an unsettled backline, hasn't it, for Leicester all season really. They haven't really had a partnership or a backline which has played more than 15 games together. You know, it's always through injuries or swaps, but I think the three does work. I think the full-backs are going to be massive to the centre half, not wanting to go out wide and, you know, pick up the wingers. You know, they've got to pick and choose when they got to go, because if Ricardo and Castagna are pushing on, and Mudryk and who's the other wing are staying out wide, you know, you don't want Wout Faes, you know, going into the right back position and Marty going into the left back position, you know. So I think the full backs have to stay to a certain extent and help the centre halves, you know, when they're defending as well.
He'll be real.
Felix. Is it Felix?
Felix. João Felix.
Yeah.
On the other wing.
Felix.
Felix.
Oh, Felix.
Is that
Felix, I think.
Felix the cat.
I still haven't got it. He's trying to convince me, still trying to work it out. Portuguese lad.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you were a player, obviously Leicester have got two up front today. If you had two up front, did you want to play against a three or a two?
I think I'd play into two.
Yeah.
You know, because as Matty said, you get that spare one. You can just the centre half that can float about. When you play one against one as defenders, you know, it's you against centre half. But I've always preferred playing in the two. You know, it does help you a lot with the workload, and you can build a partnership. But hopefully we can see that today with Kelechi and Patson.
I tell you what you find though sometimes. Sorry, deliberating the point. I was talking about the subject, but News may well disagree with me. But as a three, sometimes playing against a one, you'd think it would be a walk in the park. Sometimes it isn't, because if you're not careful, people end up doing half a job because they actually get a little complacent at times. Centre halves go, oh, well, you know, normally, like Dave says, if you're 1v1, you're constantly on your toes, constantly talking, aware of movement all the time, communicating with those around you. 3 against 1, you think, oh, right, if I don't do it, my mate will do that, and then all of a sudden neither of you are doing it, and they're in. Someone like News, busy, direct runs in behind, you know, can cause problems. So, but at times today it's going to be 3 against 3 as well, because they come in narrow, don't they? The wing backs will go and occupy Leicester's wing backs, so you know you've got that extra security, but they're all going to be employed at times as well.
Yep, it's a big call made by Brendan Rodgers, of course, ahead of this game with Chelsea. During the week, he spoke to the media at Seagrave.
Recent form exactly hasn't been so good at all. But I think we're a group and a team this season in particular that have come through adverse moments and came out the other side And I think it's just at this moment in time really concentrating on the basics of our game and looking to do those well. I think in the Southampton game, I said afterwards that the result was very disappointing for us, but there's lots of elements of the performance that was okay. You know, the work ethic in the team, the togetherness of the team. We created opportunities, but we just didn't score. And at this level, if you don't take your opportunities, then for those few moments in the game when we conceded, that's what cost us. So, but the players very much together, and like I said, we've been able to have a good training week, and we'll look to take that into our game.
Obviously, it is a difficult time at the moment, and Leicester fans, you know, they might be forgiven this week for thinking, "Oh God, Chelsea now have got a couple of results together. It's no longer a good time to play them." What is your message to them to avoid that negativity, if you like?
Well, I think it's the beauty of football. I think you've seen it. If you look in the last week or so, I think you get no better example than the Liverpool game. You know, they played Real Madrid at home, and were probably really disappointed with the result. And they come up against a team that played so well on the night and won the game. And then literally a week or so later, they're winning a game 7-0 against the biggest rivals. So football changes, and that's why it's okay to be really disappointed and down if you lose a game. And but after 24 hours, and I know it hangs around longer for supporters because it's their life. And nobody respects that more than me. People that go out and work and earn the money all week to come to the football and then see their team lose, or like travel, you know, all the way down to Southampton. There's nobody who respects that more than me. But I'm also fortunate enough on the other side where I can try and help and do something about that. And that's what we've done this week, really reinforcing with the players and to look to get that connection back in between the supporters and the players at the weekend, because like I said, we've seen it at the recent Tottenham game right from the off, when the supporters are there encouraging the team and the team are pushing and they like what they see. It's a fantastic atmosphere and we can go and win.
Timothy Castagna told us earlier today as well that the side needs to do a bit more dirty work and have a bit more aggression. How can you instill that in your team, or is that something that has to come from the players themselves? Yeah,
it's that bit of both. You have to constantly remind, you know, players of that side of the game, because most all like to do the nice things in the game. But the game is one, I've always said it fundamentally, and your pressing and how you defend and how you work and how you block the game and how aggressive you are. So that's something that's a constant. Yeah, listen, there's levels of tenacity that you can't give players, and because that comes again from within. But there's aspects of winning a game of football at the very highest level where you need to have that aggression.
That was Brendan Rodgers there speaking to the media ahead of this game with Chelsea. Obviously, David, there was huge disappointment last week, wasn't there, in that trip to Southampton, who were bottom of the Premier League at the time. And okay, it was 1-0. Leicester could have won the game 4 or 5-1, couldn't they? So at least the chances are still being created. Hopefully we see similar chances created today for Daka, again for Iheanacho. He'd put away 1 or 2 or even 3 of those chances again right now, wouldn't he, if he had them again?
Yeah, but that's just one of them games, isn't it? You know, on another day you see Kelechi puts them in the back of the net, but on this occasion we were playing like a relegation rival, and it was important that we didn't lose the game. But you know, on another day we win the game, but we didn't. We lost, you know, against a team who's bottom of the league, and that wasn't good enough. You know, some of the players didn't underperform and didn't put on a show for the travelling fans. But it's a new game. You know, it's Chelsea. You know, probably a bigger and better team than Southampton, be bigger challenges, but they've got to get the fans on side straight away. You know, closing down, winning headers. You know, want to work hard for the fans and show them that they care and want to get out this scrappy battle. It wasn't just Iheanacho though, was it? The man we've heard from already a little bit earlier, Harry Souttar, had a golden chance, didn't he? As we said, pretty much last kick of the game.
Yeah, he certainly did, and we spoke about, you know, possible reasons why he didn't get the connection he wanted, but at the end of the day, I think you could tell from his reaction, pretty much, well, it was the final whistle near enough after that, wasn't it? That he was, you know, disappointed, frustrated with himself. Probably knows he should have got it on target. If he got it on target, it was a goal. And then all of a sudden, there's, you know, slightly different picture, isn't there, to deal with? But listen, part of football. Brendan Rodgers is right there when he says, the topsy-turvy nature of it. Things that very rarely always go, well, they never always go your way. So you have to deal with that adversity, and this is a testing time today. But I can recall many times over recent past, Leicester have had a little bad run, and then people have looked at the fixtures and gone, oh, we've got such and such and that. We're not going to, can't see where the next point's going to come from. All of a sudden, 9 out of 12, or 7 out of 12, against tough opposition. So, listen, no one's given up the ghost before today. In terms of the result itself, everyone knows what can happen. Chelsea, quality outfit, but a winnable game as well if Leicester are at the races.
Yeah, Leicester, coming up against the Chelsea side who have had 2 wins on the trot against Leeds last weekend in the Premier League, then that fantastic win over Dortmund in the Champions League. So let's take a closer look at them with Simon Johnson from The Athletic and their manager, of course, Graham Potter. From Thomas Tuchel to Graham Potter, it's been a struggle at Stamford Bridge this season by Chelsea's very high standards. The London side have averaged less than a goal a game and have lost as many as they've won in the league. But Tuesday's win over Dortmund in the Champions League could be the catalyst to turn the season around for these supporters.
It's saved the season. It's suddenly given hope to the season, and it's eased the pressure for the time being off Graham Potter and talk about him losing his job. It was becoming a sort of game by game sort of question for him to answer. You were hearing noises about sort of whether this was going to happen or not, and instead suddenly it's just the beauty of football, isn't it? Suddenly, the sun is shining, although not literally right now, it's snowing where I am. But you get my drift, that suddenly the clouds have lifted from Stamford Bridge a little bit. And you could see by the way the players celebrated at the end, it's the massive confidence boost that they need. But of course, it's only one result. Of course, they had the Leeds game a few days before that. They have to build on this, and that's where Leicester comes in.
We've played that at times this season, and personnel. Thiago getting injured against Tottenham meant that we had to obviously adjust things. So at the moment, I think it's suiting us quite well and it's working. So defensively, as much as everybody's focusing on the other end, and rightly so, because we haven't scored as many goals as we'd like. Defensively, we're up there with one of the best teams in the Premier League. So. That's something to be positive about, but clearly we need to get the other bit right as well, because you need to be balanced, you need to do both sides of the game well. At the moment we haven't done it as well as we'd like, but the attacking bit is a little bit more difficult to do than the defending side of things as well. But yeah, consistency always helps.
Graham Potter has made more changes than any manager in the Premier League, suggesting he's still looking to find his best 11. Injuries and poor form have been an issue, as well as a lack of goals. Kai Havertz and Raheem Sterling are joint as Chelsea's top scorers with just 7 each in all competitions.
One of the reasons, not the only reason, because you can also talk about the general play not being good enough, but one of the reasons has been the lack of a recognised striker. Kai Havertz has been a big disappointment again this season, but typical Kai Havertz, he just when you think, right, that's enough, seen enough, he then reels you back in with a world-class performance against Borussia Dortmund, and you just go, right, let's see more of that, please.
Thanks to Simon Johnson there from The Athletic for that. Obviously, it was a brilliant result, a brilliant performance, and in fairness to Chelsea as well in midweek over Dortmund with that back three that looked impressive. So they'll be coming here, you assume, with a little bit of confidence off the back of that. But as we heard, goals are still a massive issue for them.
Yeah, well, they haven't got an out-and-out striker playing. That's probably why. I wouldn't say Havertz is your main number 9. He's like more of a 10, like a Maddison kind of player. They got Aubameyang on the bench, but it looks like something's going on there with him, and Potter, where he doesn't want to play him. He's on the bench today, but again, if you don't play with an out-and-out striker on the pitch, you're not going to score goals, are you? You know, you're expecting goals from your wingers who haven't chipped in as much as you like to. So, and as you said, they've lost more games than they've won on the Green Pot in the Premier League. So, the Champions League form might be good, but the Premier League is not. So, this is a big chance for Leicester, I think.
Yeah, they're averaging less than a goal a game, and that probably sums up for a Chelsea side as well. That is very surprising.
Yeah, and the amount of money they spent as well. You know, in the January window, didn't buy a striker. Well, they did in Fofana, but I don't think he's one for the future, any. But they're going with Havertz again. You know, they're expecting him to score the goals for them. But as you see this season, he's only scored 7. He's not hitting on a regular basis, and hopefully that'll come into Leicester's favour in this game.
Because of those 2 wins, when you look in general at their results recently, is confidence so fickle almost that it's whatever happens in the last game, that's how they'll be feeling ahead of this one, do you think?
It's probably not as black and white as that, is it? But I think, yeah, without a doubt, yeah, confidence is boosted. Even with players of this calibre, you know, their confidence would have been knocked severely, and it's all been a bit of a mishmash, and you know, there's a lot of speculation, a lot of talk about this, that, and whatever. You know, particularly with the manager, that's unsettling, and the squad's huge, isn't it? You know, players will be getting restless in the background as well. You know, players that of a very high standard are not involved in the matchday squad, let alone the team. So it's a difficult situation there. But then winning just sort of breeds team spirit as well, doesn't it? You know, all of a sudden, every team that I've been in that has good team spirit is winning games. That's the key ingredient. And then, you know, so they get a couple of wins like that, and people are quick to think, right, that's Chelsea back on a run. There's still hard work to be done. It doesn't necessarily work like that. You know, okay, listen, the players they've got are a top level. You know, the vast majority of them, aren't they? But it's finding that blend. But they'll be buoyed. They'll be buoyed by the last couple of results, and rightly so. Rightly so, because you do feel like sooner or later something is going to improve with Chelsea. Hoping that's not a continuation of that today. But at the same time, like I say, Leicester have got to back themselves. They know what they're capable of if they get it right. And if they do today, then we're in for a good contest.
Yeah, Jerry, you're on co-coms for us. Jerry Taggart, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
What are you expecting, particularly from Chelsea? We've just been speaking about them. How do you see them coming here to King Power Stadium?
Haven't got a clue, Dan, if I'm being honest. But I'm hoping that, you know, Chelsea, as you've just been talking about, have won their last 2 home games. They come here, so today, obviously today's an away game. Hopefully Leicester can take away a bit of that momentum. How they do that, Dan, is quite simple. Keep a clean sheet. We've been talking about the lack of goals from a Chelsea perspective. So if they can keep a clean sheet and score 1 goal or maybe more, then they win. Simple.
That's football, Jerry, isn't it? As simple as that, clearly.
Simple. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Simple.
Insightful punditry from Jerry, as always. A couple ex-Leicester boys in the Chelsea starting 11. In Ben Chilwell, of course, Wesley Fofana. What are you expecting from the...
Yeah. Again, I'm sure... Well, we've seen Ben Chilwell come back here before with Chelsea, and the reception hasn't been great, let's call it, for him. So a bit more of that, please, from the Leicester fans. And obviously, Wesley Fofana, I think this is his first time starting, if his memory serves me correctly, in a Chelsea shirt against Leicester. So I'm sure he'll be pretty nervous today. I think for me, Leicester need to control the midfield. I think that is a key area of the pitch. I think in transition, and what I mean by that is if Leicester are giving away possession, then that transition period is going to be very, very important because of the 3 up top that Chelsea will have. So I think they really need to control the midfield today, Leicester City.
Brilliant, thank you very much, Jerry. We'll hear from you again just before kickoff alongside John Dunn. Let's get a quick reminder of today's team news, starting with Leicester City, of course, who make a couple of changes from that game away to Southampton. It's a back three, that's the headline team news. Danny Ward in goal, Wout Faes, Harry Souttar, Daniel Amati as the three central defenders, with Castagna and Ricardo as the wing-backs, Dewsbury-Hall and Mendy, with Maddison in behind Iheanacho and Daka. And from a visiting Chelsea point of view, they have Kepa in goal, Cucurella, Koulibaly and Fofana as a back three, Chilwell and Loftus-Cheek as the wing-backs, Kovacic and Enzo Fernandez in midfield, with Mudryk, Havertz and João Felix as the front three. Let's get you in the mood then, if you don't already need it. About 5 minutes away from handing over, 20 minutes to go until kick-off. Let's take a look back at some classic goals scored in this fixture.
Good ball in, Robbins. Shot coming in from Joachim. A lot of bodies to get that one through. Oh, what a goal! Jimmy Willis! He's hit it on the turn, and exquisite finish there from Jimmy Willis.
Now Leicester passing the ball as though they really believe something could happen here. Guppy on his right foot, brilliant goal by Steve Guppy! One of the comebacks of the season is complete. You never know with Leicester City. You simply never know.
Lennon. Grounded so well. That's a fair cross, and that's a wonderfully taken goal by Muzzy Izzet. Muzzy Izzet scores on his return to Stamford Bridge. Great cross, simple goal, back defending, very well taken.
Bounces back off Zuma. All Brighton again. Mahrez round the back. It's a lovely take from Riyad Mahrez, who's teasing out Piliqueta and scoring gloriously. That is a gem. He is a gem in this jewel of a Leicester season. Ulloa. Mahrez body. Headline goal again for Jamie Vardy. Gorgeous finish.
He's got it on the edge of the area, Jeffrey Schlupp. Lays it off to Drinkwater. Might fancy a shot here with his right foot. It's a good one. Oh, what a goal! Danny Drinkwater with a spectacular finish from 30 yards. It flew past Thibaut Courtois into the far corner.
Actually, this time enough on it to run through to Schmeichel. Ricardo showing good pace. Here's Maddison. Maddison then looking for a Vardy. Vardy with a chance. Jamie Vardy has scored. Brilliant goal from Jamie Vardy. Terrific spot from Maddison. And Jamie Vardy gets his sixth in the Premier League so far this season. Right-footed strike, and the Foxes in front.
Played his team into a bit of bother there, and then Perez has won that ball really well for Leicester. And here's Yuri Tielemans, 30 yards out, lined up a shot. Tielemans has scored! An absolute cracker in the FA Cup final. Yuri Tielemans sends the Leicester City fans bananas. That is one of the finest strikes you will see, and it has Leicester City on course for glory. Yuri Tielemans, what a goal!
Yep, save the best till last there, of course. Yuri Tielemans' goal in the FA Cup against Chelsea. You okay?
I didn't realise that was allowed.
Was it?
My goal against Chelsea should have been there, FA Cup.
Right, okay.
6th round.
Yeah, we've got a nice surprise.
I'm going to show
for
you in a minute,
We've got a nice surprise for you.
Oh, have we?
We've got it.
Have we?
Right,
Come on, here we go. These watch. Look. There's IA. See you later. Whee! Thank you very much.
Through his legs as well. Was that a Cruyff? Centre off.
John Terry there. There's IA. Ed De Hoy. Where are you going?
Got a nice
it's worth replaying. I might have to actually replay that one.
Yeah, I can't really see it. It's too quick feet that way, isn't it? For a centre half.
Here we go. Look, Arne Larson round the corner.
Cruyff.
See you later. Oh,
oh,
see ya. Look, where's he going? De Hoy. It took about 10 minutes to sit down there. Oh, is that 3 times? Cheers, Al.
Oh, and John Terry as well.
Food desires legs. Lost 2-1.
Maybe that's why I didn't make.
Did you go up front when you were getting beat? Like,
yeah,
as a
that was the last couple of
striker,
minutes. Yeah. Just couldn't be bothered to run back, to be honest.
The double Christ finish, yeah, pretty impressive. Right, predictions then. We've got time.
You little
for
kid,
both.
are you, by the way?
Yeah.
Hey,
thought you'd be happy. He was already saying to David that you'd show him it later on.
Yeah, you might as well show it because I'm going to bore him with it anyway. Anyway,
predictions.
Please, yes. The delay says it all, doesn't it? I'm going to go. I was going to say a positive, but it's not particularly. 1-1.
It's like I can't see teams keeping the clean sheet, so I'm with Matty on this one, saying 1-1.
1-0. Okay. Right, we're about 15 minutes to go now until kick-off here at King Power Stadium. John Dunn and Jerry Taggart are your commentators for this. Well, another massive game in the Premier League for the Foxes coming up. Do stay with us after this short little break. We've got all the action for you.
Because memories never fade, no matter how long. We'll still remember the moments of excitement and the impressions of Thailand. Amazing Thailand, now even more amazing.
Lamiat is the belief that perfection lies within the details, where the finest ingredients deserve the finest craftsmanship. In every pursuit of perfection, there is passion and perseverance, where attention to detail inspires a masterpiece that's balanced and in harmony. This is the Lamiat philosophy, brewed into every drop of Chang beer. This is the taste of Thai perfection. Chang beer. We brew friendship.
Supporters have braved the elements in the wintry conditions to gather here again at King Power Stadium, live on LCFC Radio for another Premier League encounter as Leicester City get set to take on Chelsea. The Foxes hoping to get back to winning ways against the side they beat in the 2021 FA Cup final. Both teams stuttering for form, with City losing their last 4 after a run of 4 games unbeaten. Chelsea have won their last 2, but that was after a run of just 1 win in the previous 11. Watching proceedings alongside me and getting set for the wintry conditions is Jerry Taggart. The snow that has been cleared from the pitch over the last few days, a little smattering of it brushed up against the advertising hoardings over on the far side. The layers are on, Jerry. We're into March, but we're certainly still feeling the winter.
Yeah. And just my luck that I get the commentary job today. But what a game. Like you said, a commentator on today, John. Both teams struggling somewhat for form, results, albeit Chelsea with 2 home results in the bag. Leicester have to make sure that, they make it as uncomfortable as possible for Chelsea and take that momentum away from them today. In this fixture, and obviously the fans will play their part in that.
Just seen a few Leicester legends of the past, Shinji Okazaki and Peter Shilton, both taking their seats in the the posh seats, which are just to our right. All eyes on another former Leicester man, Gary Lineker. You may have read a bit of a story that's developed over the last few days, which means maybe a few more of you tuning in this afternoon to LCFC Radio for coverage of this clash. And the lads talked about in the studio pre-match, Jerry, what the big change in terms of the lineup is a change of formation, and right on cue, Gary Lineker has appeared on my monitor and he's looking to take his seat. A few selfies with some young supporters. But that switch from a back four to a back three, is that down to the opposition? Is that down to that recent run of form, or maybe just a bit of both?
Probably. I think it's probably trying to match up Chelsea's formation, but although in saying that, Chelsea are playing a lot front three, so they'll be playing like a 3-4-3 formation, whereas Leicester is a 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2, whatever way you want to look at it. So slightly different formations in the midfield and the attacking lineup, which could be key today, it has to be said. So, you know, both sides will obviously have to be aware of the transition period in the game, but especially Leicester, who, if both the wing backs are pushed on and they give the ball away, then it gives Chelsea the advantage on the counter-attack because of the three they have up front against the three centre-halves. So it's going to be very, very important that Leicester get their passing game absolutely spot on today.
Mixed results in the last two here at King Power Stadium. The defeat against Arsenal, the victory against North London rivals Spurs. But the game at Southampton were, in the end, Tags, was a story of missed chances, and no doubt the work this week would have been around trying to finish those chances. Always different, of course, on a match day. Two teams who have struggled to score so far this season, so commentators curse, low-scoring game.
Yeah, listen, a good performance last week, not the result. And you have to take your chances when you come your way. It's as simple as that in the Premier League, because as we've seen last week, Leicester ended up paying the penalty for not converting those chances. And today's no different. You know, I said when I had my little cameo on the Matchday live show, you know, keep a clean sheet and score one or more goals and you win the game. Now I know that's a bit simplistic, but it's in both boxes at the minute, not through the course of this season, but at the minute where Leicester are having a few issues. And if they can get that right, then they've got a great chance of getting the result today.
And the other stat that might explain a nervy game if we're predicting what might happen: Chelsea 3 wins from 13 Premier League away games, Leicester 3 wins from 12 Premier League home games. You would expect maybe a nervy start to the game. Both sides almost going to be sussing each other out. And how crucial is the first goal?
First goal is always crucial, John. And it's no different today, probably even more crucial in today's game, like for the reasons you've just said. You know, but and that's what Leicester have to aim for. That has to be one of the last messages, or one of the, you know, the messages ringing around the dressing room, let's call it, is make sure you score the first goal. And then after you score the first goal, then the next goal becomes the most crucial. So it's never ending. Yeah. You never let off the hook, but definitely in a game where momentum has been lost somewhat, confidence is low to a certain degree, then that amps it right up to the max, where the importance of scoring the first goal comes into it.
Just looking around King Power Stadium, the honesty flags that are left in the ground in the stadium by the seats have started to be waved, and two Leicester members of staff with the huge flags either side of the centre circle, with the trumpeter on the centre spot ready to blast out the post-horn gallop that will welcome the teams. Positive injury news ahead of this one, with Johnny Evans returning to the bench. It was interesting at about 2:30 when the Leicester players came out for their pre-match warm-up. James Maddison had a towel, a Leicester City towel, which I'm sure you can buy from the club shop, tucked under his arm. He laid it out on the field, and he went through some pretty intensive band work. Looked like it was hip flexors, and you know he suffered with a hip injury last season. Clearly working on that before he joined the rest of the squad in the pre-match preparations for this game. But how crucial, Tags, to see Johnny Evans back involved, particularly at this stage of the season where his experience will be so vital.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big plus for Brendan Rodgers and the rest of the players in the squad. And as you said, with a run-in coming up, you just got to touch wood, keep your fingers crossed, your eyes crossed, everything crossed that Johnny Evans can stay fit till the end of the season now and get a run of games as and when Brendan, sees fit. Because along with Ricardo coming back in to that back line, it just gives everybody around the place that little bolster of confidence because of the experience that he brings.
Over in the top end to our right, in the singing section, there's a large banner being opened up, and it's shown the 4 trophies that Leicester have won in their recent history. The FA Cup top left, next to that the Community Shield, and below it's the Premier League alongside the Championship trophy, and below it states winning the Filbert Way as the flags fly as Leicester City and Chelsea take to the field ahead of the Premier League game here on Filbert Way. 2 teams trying to find end-of-season form to end the campaign on a high. City without a win in their last 4, following 4 games where they were unbeaten, taking on a Chelsea side who have won their last 2, but that was after going 6 games in all competitions without a victory. They've gone 10 away games without a win, the side from London, as they take on the Foxes here, who are looking to find a repeat performance and a repeat result similar to the one that they found here against London outfit Spurs just a few weeks ago. Leicester last in action on the south coast, it was a defeat to Southampton, and there's 2 changes to that 11, with Harvey Barnes and the Brazilian Tete moving to the bench. In come Daniel Amate, and for the first time starting a Premier League game since Boxing Day is Patson Daka. Those changes hint to a change in shape, with a back 3 preferred by Brendan Rodgers this afternoon. Warding goal, Amate, Souttar and Fast the back 3, Castagna and Ricardo the wing backs, with Dewsbury Hall, Mendy and captain Maddison in behind Daka and Iheanacho. Chelsea also make 2 changes. They were in Champions League action on Tuesday. They beat Dortmund 2-0 to progress to the next stage of that competition. Reece James and Raheem Sterling ruled out due to injury. Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Mykhailo Mudryk coming in. Former Leicester players Wesley Fofana and Ben Chilwell are in the Chelsea 11 that sees Ariza Balaga in goal. Fofana is alongside Koulibaly and Cucurella as the Chelsea back 3. Loftus-Cheek, Fernandes, Kovacic and Chilwell the Chelsea midfield, with Mudryk, Havertz and Felix as the front 3 for the Chelsea 11 this afternoon. I mentioned earlier, Leicester just 3 home wins, Chelsea just 3 away games. It could be a nervy start to this Premier League game on a frosty day in the East Midlands as the 2 sides prepare for Premier League action. A quick one on the team tags, the 2 players coming in, Amate and Daka. Amate not started for 5 Premier League games, but for Daka, is it a vote of confidence from Brendan Rodgers to bring him back into the side? He starts for the first time since Boxing Day.
Yeah, I think, especially playing 2 up front, the way both Iheanacho and Daka play will hopefully complement the rest of the team and obviously each other. So I think it's a good ploy, especially when you're playing, 3 centre-halves. As we've already talked about Chelsea, you have got the option of playing the 3 up top as well. But I think with Ricardo and Castagna, who love getting forward as wing-backs, then that will complement that 3-man midfield, make it into a 5-man midfield, and hopefully with the 2 centre-forwards always being up with play, and hopefully in and around the box, then Leicester can get some supply to them and they can link up in and around the box.
James Maddison, the Leicester skipper again this afternoon, just having a final word with Brendan Rodgers before he trots back into his position. It's Leicester that will get us underway this afternoon, a traditional 3 o'clock kickoff